Welcome to your Daily 5 for Tuesday, April 25th, 2023. Some of you may have read that Netflix is officially discontinuing their physical DVD service, which I'll be honest, I thought they already had after, I think it was 25 years is what they said, that the 25-year mark was when Netflix originally started mailing out DVDs. Some people listening to this may not have even been alive when that was going on, but yes, Netflix started off as a physical media company that would send you out a used DVD, or, I mean, sometimes it was new, but it was often one that you could clearly see was used. And that was a way that you could rent movies for whatever amount of time and then send it back, and then you got 1 to 3 more of them. And that was how they started out. Of course, now they're known as a streaming giant, like many others. But I didn't even realize they still had this service. It's great that they did for so long, because a lot of people have said, oh, it's a shame they're getting rid of it. I'm honestly shocked that it's stuck around this long, because I cannot imagine they make much money from it at all. But there is the reality that a lot of titles that are not available on any streaming service outside of maybe Criterion or the Canopy service, which I don't think just anybody can get Canopy. I think you need either a library card, which, again, anybody could get one, but I don't know that people are aware of it. Or if you're a student or something like that, there's the Canopy service, which has a lot of educational and offbeat stuff, things that might serve like a university or a school. But it does have a lot of obscure titles on there, but nothing like what some of the Netflix library in the physical realm did. And so people are saying, well, I'm going to lose access to that stuff. And it made me think about, and this is sort of related to the HBO Max thing, where, I wonder if these companies are aware of the possible ramifications of what they're doing. Because almost all of them are raising their prices or have already raised their prices. Now, like Netflix is now limiting some of the stuff you'll be able to get on there. So some people will probably only subscribe to Netflix because they can get these movies. Not many, I'm sure, but a good amount of them. But with the prices going up and the fact that there's just only so much material and a lot of it is similar, I wonder if at some point they're going to start finding that people are just subscribing for a short amount of time, watching things, unsubscribing, subscribing, watching things. And I mean, that's kind of what I'm going to start doing, because honestly, and it's not even, for me, it's not even necessarily a money thing. It's more of just, I think this is a bad way to do things. The idea of streaming was supposed to be, or at least was originally presented by many people as the alternative to cable, where you would be able to come in, get the stuff you wanted, and not have to pay for a bunch of things that you don't want. And ultimately, what streaming has become is an online version of cable in almost every way. They almost all have raised their prices to the point where just having a few of them is more than having a cable subscription at this point. There's as much junk and filler on almost all of them as there would be if you had a cable TV subscription. And a lot of them are now starting to gut their own content. Or, again, you look at the HBO Max thing, and there's a perfect example of flooding what was a service that was at least somewhat streamlined with a bunch of junk. Now, Netflix on the other side is taking a classic library that wasn't available anywhere else, and they're gutting their service. Because, yes, they're not reducing it from the streaming side, but by getting rid of the physical end of it, you don't even have access to those titles anymore. So they are gutting their own service. Now, how much of a trim back that is for most people? Sure. I'm sure it's minor. Most people don't care about movies from the 30s, 40s, and 50s. But there are those people. There were people still subscribing. So, again, these services are getting more expensive while offering less and less in certain ways and more in the way of what I would describe as filler. Almost none of them don't do that anymore. I mean, you can look on, and really, I'm trying to think outside of Criterion and maybe Mubi, which are very, very specifically curated, but they have limited catalogs. I mean, even they rotate through. Mubi, I think, changes on a daily basis or something like that. Criterion has limited times on a lot of its things, although it does have a deep catalog for certain types of titles. But there really isn't what we always thought there would be. Now, you might say, well, you can subscribe to each of these services independently. That's how you're doing your a la carte to streaming. Yes, but to do that, you're going to end up paying twice as much as you did for cable, so that really wasn't any type of solution. So I don't know what it's going to look like. I think at some point, people are simply going to stop paying for these things because they're getting more and more expensive. And again, when you stack them individually, they may not be that bad, but stacking them together, most people at some point are going to realize that these aren't worth having, that they're not watching them enough for what they're paying for. And again, 2 or 3 of them, and you're at what cable would be in most cases. Not for everybody, but a lot of cases. So I don't know what the future looks like for streaming. It's not going to go away. Streaming is going to be the future. But what is it going to look like? I don't know. It's really weird because I don't necessarily think streaming in 5 years even is going to look like it does today, but I'm not sure where it's going. I just don't know what the future is. So if you have any ideas, let me know later.